Hi everyone, Sailor Moon here, Sailor Pluto, Sailor Underworld here, and we're going to talk about how everything we do on our YouTube fairway to some way or another is offshooting from the Deep Glee Sailor Moon, the Pioneer Glee Sailor Moon. Now there are a lot of Sailor Moon followers that do not like the Deep Sailor Moon, do not like the Pioneer Sailor Moon, and they do have the right to feel that way. Whatever, that's their own business, great for them. A lot of these folks will make the mistake of thinking that we're offshooting from that world too. Like mostly with names. You see a lot of them out there will say, oh, a lot of them out there will by mistake will call me Usagi when they know my name is Serena in the Deacon Pioneer world. Yes, it's true, I do give my thoughts on a lot of Viz work, like Hearst and Forever and Stars, and also the Viz offshoot, which Cartoon Folkwork has a broadcast rights to as of right now. But a lot of these folks out there will make the mistake of thinking that is the one that we are offshooting from. What we borrow in the world that we live in, we're borrowing and offshooting from the Deep Sailor Moon, the Pioneer Sailor Moon, and also the Renaissance Atlantic Entertainment or New Birth Great Sea Sailor Moon. Now, some of these Sailor Moon followers out there hate the Deep and Pioneer Sailor Moon. Very few of them most likely probably hate the RAE Sailor Moon too, or whatever. At the end of the day, they like to get pissed off over some things, but not really that much, So this would mostly this happened once, and it happened on Twitter, or Gil, or we can call it X now because that's the business which owns it now. On X, what happened once was that someone said, stop calling them by those borrowed names and call them by the right borrowed names. Well, first off, those Latinish, Frenchish, I guess Hellenish, Hebrewish, Farsi-ish, and even Blacklandish names are the right borrowed names for them in the Deacon Pioneer world. So yeah, I'm calling them by the right names. You want to say something about this? Oh, yeah, I do want to say something about it, Sailor Moon. You're right. I'll say, you're right, Sailor Moon. And one time someone else said something, someone else said something on YouTube, or we call it Euro, since tube's a Latin is French's borrowed word, said, don't slight my wisdom. When he said that Sailor Moon's name was Serena and not Usagi, we get someone saying, don't flight my wisdom. Well, no one's flighting his or her wisdom here, but you are slighting our wisdom, because if you never saw the Deke or Pioneer Sailor Moon, well, we'll go on a belief that maybe this folk who wrote this on this film, we'll just say he or she never did see that one. And if they did not, well, then they need to go see it. They might not like it, but at least they'll understand that we're not flighting anyone's wisdom here. And then in the Deep world and the Pioneer world, that Sailor Moon's name is Serena. And RAE Sailor Moon's world, Renaissance Atlantic Entertainment, New Birth Great Sea Sailor Moon's world, her name would have been Victoria. So yeah, whatever. The fuck. Now, if you overlook these folks, making a mistake of not knowing which offshoot of Sailor Moon that we're borrowing and fostering from, and what we take from, well, it's from the Deep world, the Pioneer world, the Renaissance Atlantic Entertainment, or New Birth Great Sea Glee world, which is the worlds that the English-speaking world got. Well, mostly the 4-1 Reichs in a settled land. I mean, the 4-1 Kingdom didn't get it until like years later. But anyway, in the Viz world, well, that was just offshooting from the Toei world. And a lot of folks out there, you know, some folks out there want to play and, you know, and make believe that the Deke and Pioneer Sailor Moon never been. And some of them do that. You know, some of them do. When they give their thoughts on Sailor Moon, they're always talking about the Viz one. And even when they're not talking about the Viz one, they're always going by the other, we'll call them Dawnish borrowed names. And some folks make a big deal about that. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about folks who make the mistake of coming on this fairway and then thinking that it has to be offshooting from the Viz world when it's not. It's offshooting from the Deke and Pioneer world, you know? And even if these folks don't like or never saw the Deke one or the Pioneer one, well, they have to at least do a little learning. They could at least look it up on Wikipedia if you don't trust them, but whatever. Go on Sailor Moon Wiki, and there you go. You could do a little bit of learning and then understand what world that we're offshooting from in these films. And then you won't, you know, and then you won't be so misled. And at the end of the day, the folks out there that, you know, that would say that their wisdom's being slighted. Well, I'm going to give it back to you now, Sailor Moon. Oh, well, thank you, Sailor Pluto, Sailor Underworld. You're right. There's always going to be someone out there who's going to say that their wisdom's being slighted or whatever. Also, someone out. Oh, my necky. Oh. At the end of the day, there's always going to be someone to do that. And we should bring this up towards the end of the film, that someone said a long time ago that we were besmirching the show by borrowing, shifting, and offshooting things that were never said or done on the show. Well, whoever said that, we don't know who they were. That was a long time ago. But no, not besmirching the show at all. You know? And back in the day, if you did like the Deke and Pioneer Sailor Moon, well, some Sailor Moon followers would scathe you and shame you and guilt you for it. They would also say, "Oh, I like the Toei one, where all this shit's written down. You know, all the shit is written. You know." Well, the Viz one would have made these folks happy, and sadly, no, they're not really happy with the Viz one either in some way. So, whatever. But at the end of the day, the world that we're offshooting from is the Viz world, is the Deke world. You know, 9 between 95 YL to 9 between 98 YL. The Pioneer world, 9 between 99 YL to 2000 YL, even though Pioneer did have a longer years to work with Sailor Moon though. But anyway, it is what it is. So that is a world that we offshoot from, borrow from, and not flighting anyone's wisdom on anything. You are most likely slighting my wisdom on things because you don't want to take the time to learn about the Deke and Pioneer one and then behave as if, you know, a little bit of learning about the Deke and Pioneer one. At least if you learned a little bit about that one, you might understand where these films are coming from. Because we are in the Deke and Pioneer world. even though we do give our thoughts sometimes on the Viz work, mostly Hearst and Forever and Stars, and the new Viz Sailormoon, which is on Cartoon Folkwork or Drawing Show Folkwork right now, only Fridays only right now. But we all mostly offshooting from the Deke and Pioneer world, or some folks call Cloverway, but Cloverway wasn't really the, whatever. So that's it. See you later. Goodbye.